Who do you voice in Onward, and what is he like?
I voice Ian Lightfoot in Onward. He is a really interesting character. He's a lot like me in a lot of ways, but the one thing that I loved about playing him was creating this journey and this arc that he goes on throughout the movie. He goes from a really vulnerable little kid who doesn't really know how to express himself and is quite introverted, and by the end of the film he's almost the polar opposite, and it just was a really fun process for me because I kind of went through that much younger than Ian was, but it was really fun for me to kind of bring that little piece of me to life.
I played Barley Lightfoot, the older brother to Ian. He's an affable, goofy, fun, and very caring older brother. He loves heavy metal music, and he is obsessed with all things magic. He plays a game called Quests of Yore, which is based on real-life magic that exists in this fantasy world in which Onward takes place. And he loves his van, he loves his little brother, and he's got a very big heart, and the harder he tries, the more annoying he becomes.
Tom, describe Ian's relationship with his brother, and what does he think of Barley?
Ian's relationship with Barley in this, it's kind of complicated. Like, at the beginning, I think he finds him a little annoying and he's embarrassed by him, but he obviously loves him because he's his brother. And throughout the course of the movie, he realizes the importance of brotherhood and sibling rivalry, I guess, a little bit. But for me, it was just really, really nice to get to kind of figure out these characters, especially working with Chris again. Like, we kind of are like these characters in some ways, and it just was really nice to just kind of be me for a little bit, albeit I had an American accent. But I think their relationship ends up in a pretty perfect place.
Chris, what does their dad leave for them that they receive on their Ian's 16th birthday, and what is it meant to do?
On Ian's 16th birthday, it is revealed to him through his mother, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's amazing, by the way, that their father, who's long since passed away, has left behind a gift. She doesn't know what it is, but she was told to give it to her sons once they were both 16. So on 16th birthday for young Ian, he opens up a staff, and this staff has a gem with it, and we realize that our father, the character's father, was a magician, and his spell that he's left behind with this staff is an opportunity for them to bring him back for one day and be able to spend a day with him. And that's obviously something they would both love to do because they barely have any memories of him at all.
Tom, what happens when they first attempt the spell that prompts the quest?
There's a running theme throughout the film where Barley kind of ruins everything. Like, he's always kind of getting in the way or making silly mistakes, and Ian quite often has to deal with the ramifications of that. And while we're performing the first spell, Barley decides to try and help out, and in doing so, I guess bashes Ian, and Ian ruins the spell, therefore being left with half of our dad, just his legs. So we have to go on this quest together to bring the rest of him back so you can see him again and I can meet him for the first time. And through that process, we become closer than any two characters I think I've ever seen on screen. And it's a pretty magical relationship that blossoms.
This is for both of you. How do you relate personally to this story?
Well, I lost my father a few years ago. I have a great relationship with my brother, who, in a way, as my older brother, really helped raise me and was a big part of my upbringing, loved me to pieces and still does. And so it really resonates. And more than anything, Dan Scanlon's story, our director, our writer, his story, which this film is based on, he and his brother lost their father at a young age. His story is something that I just clung really tightly to. It really was moving the first time he told me why he was motivated to make this movie and shared his life with me and the story. I was very, very moved, and so it was important for me to be part of this because it's a real, really great movie and has a lot of humanity in it.
It's not. Maybe it's not how I relate to the movie, but I am so lucky to have such a great relationship with my dad, and us as Holland boys have been so lucky with the way he's raised us. He's been a very present father, and he's always been there for us. So for me, like, I had a real sense of responsibility and a duty to kind of bring this story to life and show that relationship I have with my dad through my relationship I have with Chris and through Ian with Barley. So I just drew a lot on my personal experiences with my dad teaching me to play golf, and then the first time that I ever beat him in golf, and all those kind of amazing memories that I look back on so fondly is basically all that happiness I've poured into this film.
Okay. This one's for both of you again. What does it mean to work on a Pixar film, and is there a past Pixar film you connected to?
Working on a Pixar film is a dream come true. Chris was talking about like milestones earlier. Like every actor has a milestone, and I think you were right in saying that not a single actor in the business wouldn't have this as one of their milestones.
Yeah.
So it's a real honor. It's a real honor. And the Pixar movie that touched me most was Coco. That's my favorite.
Exactly. My favorite Pixar movie, I mean, there's so many. They're all good. I love Toy Story, but I really was moved by Up. Up is a very moving film, and I really love Up. And a lot of similar themes in our film to Up.
I have a playlist on my phone called Crying Playlist.
Yeah.
For when I have to do crying scenes. And, I think it's called A Letter to Ellie, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It's the song, and it's the opening of the movie, and that's on there. And it's a sad song.
One last one. Why do you think people should see this film?
Well, I think why do I think people should see this film? First of all, I think whether I tell them to or not, people are going to see this film because it's Pixar, and Pixar as a brand of animated movies stands on its own. It's really exciting that I get to see the world wake up to these characters. It's fresh, it's new. It's not a sequel. It's original, and it's really exciting to think that the entire world doesn't know who Ian and Barley are right now as we give this interview, but in a couple weeks the whole world will, and I'm really excited for that. It's a great movie, and they should really see it, just because this love letter that our director is basically writing to his brother in this film is that alone is worth the price of admission.
Why do I think people should see this movie? I think people should see this movie because it's refreshing and it's uplifting. We work in the art of escapism, and it's going to help people escape our world and come into this beautiful new world and see this crazy journey that we've created with Pixar and Dan. And I just think it's going to be a wonderful time for people to realize how grateful they are for family and friends and all that sort of stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey, you guys!